Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, fam? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst, back at you with the uncut realness as only I can bring it to you. It's Mystery Mexican Fight Week. Try saying that 5 times in a row. Mystery Mexican Fight Week, Mystery Mexican Fight Week, Mystery Mexican Fight Week. Okay, maybe it isn't as hard to say as I thought it was going to be, but the Mystery Mexicans have suddenly become the champions. And what's it like when the rabbit has the gun? This time, the UK fighters who were the former champions are now fighting, or in Mick Conlan's case, he was never a champion, but he's trying to be a champion for the first time. But we've got, starting off in AO Arena out there in Manchester, England, we've got Lee Wood getting his rematch against Mauricio Lara. And you gotta love that matchup. You gotta love Mauricio Lara to begin with. Mauricio Lara, aka Bronco Lara, was relatively unknown up until a couple years ago when he stepped out there to the UK to fight Josh Warrington of Leeds, the great featherweight champion, the guy who had beaten, names like Kiko Martinez, Carl Frampton, Lee Selby. And he went out there and mollywopped Josh Warrington. Now, mind you, in the build-up to that fight, Josh Warrington was the heavy betting favorite. In some betting places, he was a minus 3,300 betting favorite. And then Mauricio Lara came in there, knocked him down once during the middle of the fight. I want to say, what was it? I wrote it down. The 4th round, knocked him down in the 9th round. Josh Warrington got back up, and Mauricio Lara continued to pummel on him to finish out that 9th round before the referee called a stoppage to the affair in that 9th round. And Mauricio Lara captured the entire boxing world's attention because up until that point, Josh Warrington was one of the most dominant featherweights in that division. And he even shocked me when he won it. But no more is Mauricio Lara in obscurity. Mauricio Lara is now officially a cult fan favorite, and he's going to fight this weekend. It's the revenge of the Mystery Mexican. And, now he's fighting Lee Wood, and Lee Wood put up a great fight the first time they fought, which I believe was in February. Lee Wood was controlling much of that fight. And then he just fumbled it. He started to get a little bit tired. He was fighting behind the jab. 1-2, very disciplined fight. And he just slowly lost control of that fight. Around the 8th round was when you could start to see him tucker out. Mauricio Lara started to load up on his punches. Mauricio Lara, they got to that 9th round, and Mauricio Lara ended up dropping Lee Wood. Lee Wood got back up, but his corner had enough sense. They said, no, we're not going to let him just get waxed by Mauricio Lara, which in retrospect was kind of the smart move. Mauricio Lara is one of those fighters, if given the opportunity, he will finish you. And, regardless of what, Lee Wood is a tough competitor. I'm not sure if he should be going into that rematch with Bronco Lara so soon after getting knocked out. But hey, that's between him, his team, and God. And he believes he can do it. And there's a chance he can do it because you don't ever want to discount Lee Wood. Now, for those of you who don't know, Lee Wood, really his pivotal moment was getting that knockout of the year against Mick Conlan last year. It was such an amazing fight between him and Mick Conlan. It was out there in, I believe, Nottingham, England, and Mick Conlan was essentially boxing circles around Lee Wood for much of that fight. And he even knocked him down in the 1st round. But Lee Wood managed to stay in there. He was eating those shots, taking punishment. And somehow towards the last 2-3 rounds of that fight, he managed to get the momentum to swing in his direction. And then one of the most stunning things happened. In that 12th round, he ended up getting Mick Conlan super hurt and even finished when he got Mick Conlan hurt and knocked him clear out the ring and got knockout of the year. And mind you, that stadium or that arena was packed to the brim. It was split in half. They couldn't let people from the Irish contingency be next to the British fans that were there to support Lee Wood. So all those Belfast, Ireland fans that were there to go support Mick Conlan had to be separate in a separate part of the arena. And then when Lee Wood knocked out Mick Conlan, it almost erupted into violence. The crowd was in a frenzy, and Lee Wood had to calm down the crowd. Despite having that stunning knockout, he had the wherewithal to say, everyone calm down. I've never seen anything like that. It reminded me of one of those old stories you read in the old boxing history books in the 1930s and 1940s. But that fight was just bonkers. And now Lee Wood has a chance to gain his title back against Bronco Lara. Now, for those of you who don't know the path for how Lee Wood ended up here, let me see if I can write it, if I can look this up real quick, because I had it all mapped out in my head. Okay, so Lee Wood is going to be fighting Mauricio Lara in a rematch for that WBA featherweight strap. Now, what made Lee Wood famous amongst hardcore boxing fans was his fight against Jucan, where he ended up getting a last-minute stoppage. Like, I think there was 15 seconds left on the clock. He got the ref stoppage. He got the regular WBA strap. And then, of course, he had that big blowout with Mick Conlan, where he knocked out Mick Conlan again in a 12th round in a stunning fight. That was where he knocked Mick Conlan out the ring. And he still has that WBA regular strap. And then Leo Santa Cruz, who had the WBA super strap, ended up vacating that belt. So that was when they elevated Lee Wood to the full WBA champion. So he became the full WBA champion. And that's when he went into that first fight with Mauricio Lara and ended up getting stopped in the 9th round, a TKO stoppage, thus making Mauricio Lara the current IBF featherweight champion of the world. WBA featherweight champion of the world. And now he's fighting him again this weekend, in what should be a highly entertaining fight. And, it's fascinating because Lee Wood, I think, is a more disciplined boxer than Mauricio Lara, but with a style like Mauricio Lara, it's so unorthodox and just so loopy and so all over the place that sometimes it doesn't matter if you're the more disciplined fighter going into a fight, because Mauricio Lara also has that power, that one-hitter quitter power. And it's an eraser. When you have technical deficiencies, but if you got a lot of power and you can throw those punches even when things get tough, man, it makes it a hard fight. And I'm not sure if Lee Wood should have taken this rematch so soon after getting knocked out, because it was just last February. What is it, March, April, May? What is that, 3 months? And he's going right back in. I think you should need at least 6 months when you take a terrible beating. It wasn't a terrible beating, but if you get stopped in a fight, you want to give it a good 6 months to heal up, because that punch resistance usually takes some time to build back up. But hey, he's doing it, taking it upon himself to take those chances. And I think that's why people like Lee Wood. That's why I like Lee Wood. And I'm definitely going to favor Mauricio Lara. Probably going to get a ridiculous stoppage, honestly, folks. I'd say midway through the fight. But hey, who knows how it's going to play out? How do you think the fight between Lee Wood and Mauricio Lara breaks down this weekend? Let me know in the comment section, y'all. Let's chop that one up. And now let's head over to Belfast, Ireland at the SSE Arena. We've got the Fighting Pride of Belfast, Mick Conlan, 19-1, 9 knockouts, fighting the current IBF featherweight champion Venado Lopez, 27-2 with 15 knockouts. Now, you gotta love it. It's Mystery Mexican Fight Weekend. Not so much a mystery anymore. They're now full-fledged champions. Venado Lopez is fighting Mick Conlan. I've always liked Mick Conlan. If you don't know, Mick Conlan was that tough Irish kid from Belfast that won the bronze medal at the Olympics in 2012. He got the jank decision, and he's pretty much really famous for flipping off the judges. That was like one of those iconic images from the Olympics. They later did an investigation on corruption in that Olympics in 2012, and they did find that there was corrupt judging going on in Mick Conlan's fight. So he likely might have been a silver medalist at the very least, if not a gold medalist, if not for that corruption. And Mick Conlan is a fun fighter to watch. He's a switch hitter, not the heaviest handed guy, but he's got enough technical skill and enough pop to keep a fighter honest. So he's going up against Venado Lopez, one of those fighters who has become a champion, and in doing so has kind of endeared himself for having a fan-friendly fighting style. So does Mick Conlan have enough technical skill going into this fight, to turn the tables against a fighter like Venado Lopez, who isn't the most technically sound fighter, but has enough heart and athleticism to make up for it? Let me know in the comments section, y'all. Let's chop this up. Venado Lopez. Venado Lopez is from Mexicali, out there in Baja California, kind of close to where I am in San Diego, but not too close. Didn't start boxing until he was 20 years old. And I think the turning point for him was that fight against Gabe Flores Jr. Now, he was fighting at 126, Venado Lopez. He moved up for the opportunity to fight Gabe Flores Jr. at 130 pounds. And Gabe Flores Jr. was riding a wave of promotion from Top Rank as being that next guy from the California amateur circuit scene to really do it big in the pro ranks. And man, it was the most phenomenal whooping that Venado Lopez put on Gabe Flores. It was bad. It was one of those beatings where you saw it unfold and you were wondering, why didn't Gabe Flores Jr.'s pops, who was his corner, stop the fight? He was beating on him, but Gabe Flores insisted on staying in the fight. He did not want to stop the fight. And, you know, it was a clear, unanimous decision win in favor of Venado Lopez. And that was when boxing fans really got a good look at this talent that came out the blue, Venado Lopez. And ever since then, he's just been on a tear. A tear. He's got some technical deficiencies, but he's freakishly athletic and has knockout power. And then he ended up defeating Josh Warrington in a close fight out there across the pond. And now he's defending his belt against Mick Conlan, the tough Irish kid. And this is going to be an interesting fight, folks. I'm looking forward to this. So, will the Mystery Mexicans continue to dominate out there across the pond? Or will these UK fighters rise up to the challenge? I have so much respect for these Irish and UK fighters, folks. Their mindset is so different. It's different. Going into this Mystery Mexican fight weekend, where the Mystery Mexicans have now become the champions in the form of Venado Lopez and Mauricio Lara, you've got Mick Conlan, who's from Belfast, Ireland, and Lee Wood, who's from the UK, but essentially out in that part of the world across the pond, they look at fighting a little differently than American fighters do. American fighters, they will lollygag and avoid the difficult fights at any chance they can, but these UK fighters, these Irish fighters, they will take the biggest opportunities they can get, and they don't think twice about it. Their fan bases don't evacuate them when they take a loss, and in their eyes, from the way I understand it, it seems like these UK fighters, they're willing to test themselves, because if they're not great, they're going to find out soon enough, and they want to know if they're great. Guys like Lee Wood, they're willing to take that chance to see if they're great. Guys like Anthony Joshua, they're willing to fight the toughest opposition to see if they're great. Guys like Mick Conlan, and you got to take your hats off to them. Guys like Josh Warrington, they're willing to fight the Mystery Mexicans. And they know that there might be a chance they'll lose, but regardless, they'll take that fight anyways because they have a warrior's mentality. And they know that their fan bases out there won't evacuate and flee on them like American boxing fans do. Americans, y'all need to own that one. Stop vacating on these fighters as soon as they lose their first fight. Good Lord. We're looking like fools out here in the international boxing community. But anyways, great weekend of fights. We also got Lawrence Okolie fighting Billy M. Smith, but I didn't really do too much research on that one. They used to be stablemates, so that looks like it might be an interesting matchup. Anyways, what do you think about those two fights across the pond? Hit me up in the comments section. Let me know, folks. This is Hot Boxing Minute, the future of boxing analysis on TikTok and YouTube. Peace.